Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the movie Black Widow. And I did not like this movie, alright? I'm a fan of the MCU, a fan of Marvel, and this is a bad movie, and it's a bad MCU movie, alright? Um, oh, I wanted to like it, alright? I went in, I like Black Widow's character. I was wondering how they were going to kind of play this out. I thought that it would be kind of better if they went along the lines of Captain America Winter Soldier, have it kind of like a spy espionage thriller kind of thing going on. And there is an attempt to do that. It just fails miserably at doing that. The best way I could describe it is if somebody saw the Jason Bourne movies and then was like, I also kind of like this stuff from Michael Bay, and took the worst aspects of everything and kind of just smushed it together. And it's really kind of strange because nothing of truly big consequence happens until the end, where we get into after Endgame stuff with the end credit scene. It oddly enough reminds me of a book in the Wheel of Time series where I read the whole book, but the only thing that mattered was like the end couple pages. And I mean like pages, like maybe even like just like one or two towards the actual fucking end. This did not work. And I don't know where the breakdown happened, but it didn't even start off right, and it just fucking thundered along from there. So we start in the middle of shit going on in 1995 in Ohio. We see someone with colorful hair, pretty much. I'm like, okay, that's probably Natasha, even though we're not told it's Natasha. And she's riding along on her bike, and then she finds her little sister, Yelena. They kind of play along in the backyard. And she, like, falls down and scrapes her knee and everything. And then their mother, Melina, pops up and tells her, oh, yeah, pain makes you stronger, stuff like that. I'm like, all right. And they're pretty much waiting for their dad to come home. And he's like, yeah, I did it, everything. Let's go. We've got about like an hour. And they try and grab some stuff and everything, but they leave stuff behind. And they just start driving off. It's like, all right, fine, whatever. We're probably doing some kind of spy thing. Like, he got something from this institute. They get through. They're pretty much getting to this airfield place. Not a big airfield, kind of a country bumpkin kind of airfield where it's like, okay, not really heavily trafficked. We see that the father dude, who is played by the guy that does Hopper from Stranger Things, is able to lift this thing strongly, because we see from the trailers he's the Red Guardian, the Russian super soldier. You would think that there would be kind of more shit seeded with him throughout the MCU, being that super soldiers are such a big thing, and that he like makes up fucking fake Captain America stories that he like fought the dude later on in the movie. It's just like, oh god. But they then get the authorities on their trail as we get an action scene as they're flying. The mother unit, Melina gets injured, but he is able to hop onto the plane and shoot shit out, rifle style, while on a moving airplane. This reaches kind of Fast and the Furious level of bullshit. And they're able to fly off. They get to Cuba. Nat and Yelena are worried about Melina, and she gets taken off to get like treatment. General Dreykov, who is pretty much their handler, he's like, yeah, I spent 3 years, did this, and now I can get back into it and everything. And one dude's like, hey, screw you, little girl, to Yelena, and then fucking Nat's like, I'll shoot you. She like fucking gets a gun and is like, I'll shoot you. It's like, what the fuck? Like, actions in this movie are like disproportionate to certain things. Like, if somebody's like, I'm gonna kill this little girl, or I'm gonna like fucking thunder whip her like halfway across the airport. Sure, fine, yes, this is the correct response to be like, I will fucking kill you for trying to harm my sister kind of thing. But it's just like, alright, okay. So they get carted off to pretty much go into the Black Widow program. Alexi pretty much calms them down a little bit and be like, go off and do whatever because I don't really give a shit about you. Which is really kind of weird because later on in the movie, he's like, we did give a shit about you. We kind of wanted to be like a family. It's like, your actions and your words mean nothing to me because they're just going along to whatever's the tune of the plot demanding it. So then we fast forward after we see like this fucking dumbass montage of essentially the first little bit of this movie is the most condensed fucking origins of the Black Widow that I've ever fucking seen. Especially since this was supposed to mainly deal with the shit after Civil War. And I'm just like, we could have had some like... I don't understand how we couldn't have had like some little things here or there, maybe a flashback or whatnot, but it's just like, whatever, fucking continue on. So we go to after Civil War, it says 21 years later, she's fucking doing mind games with Ross, that she's like at some other place, but she's on a ferry, dumps her phone, is pretty much in Norway, and we get this like boring kind of thing of she like talks with this dude who's able to get her some stuff, and is like, hey, here's your safe house, you got a generator and shit, you can do all this shit, just how's stuff going with your friends and stuff? Shit's going down, whatever. I'll just survive like I've always survived. And it's really kind of weird because in Endgame, she's like, this is my family and everything. And it's just really weird to have this space of time. It's like, Cap's on the run too. Wouldn't he like be trying to like help her, connect with her or something? That's one of the things that starts popping up with this is a prequel, sequel, integral, like some kind of fucking thing in between Civil War and Infinity War. And it's like, oh god, you really shouldn't have fucking done that because you gotta like constrain yourself to the weirdest of fucking retcons to make this plot even fucking, huh? So she's also for some reason got shit from her place in her safe house in Budapest or Budapest. However, they make a weird fucking joke of that. And that's another thing in this. You know how I can understand why people are like, hey, Marvel gets a little bit too quippy. I can understand that. This movie is a prime example of the quippiness fucking destroying the tonal shit going on in this movie. Like, there's certain jokes and shit that do not land, are timed very just in a stupid, shitty kind of place, and just kind of destroys the ability for like a serious thing to be going on because it's like, oh yeah. Whoever was trying to be in charge of that for like what was going on did not do their job. The editing, so it's like, all right, fine, cool, whatever. And then her generator goes out, and she's like going into town. I need to then dovetail into another portion that we had also gotten, where we see pretty much this blonde woman who we pretty much would be like, yeah, that's Yelena grown up. Her and her widows are going after this other person. We are not really given that much context other than at the end she's got this MacGuffin that they got to go after, and they kill her because she's a widow that got out. Why am I calling it a MacGuffin? Because it's some red mist that's able to counteract chemical conditioning. Never mind the fact that the chemical conditioning is kind of weird because it's like you're totally obedient to this Dreykov dude, but he's either got to talk to you about it or send you some kind of like actual computer chip kind of fucking thing, command for you to do whatever you're supposed to do. So it's like, whatever. So she gets blasted by the MacGuffin, and she then cuts out a tracker in her leg, and she runs. And the thing is, it's the same kind of case that we see that Nat now has, because she's like, I didn't fucking send anything to here. Dreykov sees this shit going on, goes, alright, activate the Taskmaster thing. And we're like, okay, we see Taskmaster, learning the kind of stuff. Taskmaster, shit, saying that fast fucks you up. Taskmaster is an interesting MCU, Marvel Comics villain. However, in this movie, they are not as interesting as you would think, because there's more kind of depth and stuff that they've done in the comics. Here, in the beginning, he's kind of the character is more kind of like a Terminator kind of thing. I'm like, alright, I can kind of deal with that. Never mind the fact that if you look up what the MCU version looks like versus the comics version, there are definite ways to have done it more kind of along the comics way, because you'd be like, how are we supposed to take this guy seriously? And then he starts like, I can mimic anybody. And there's like, that makes you more of a reactive dude, but still someone that you gotta kind of fuck around with. Okay? So, Taskmaster gets sent along to do what they do. Nat then gets blown up out of nowhere because they were somehow tracking the MacGuffin. I don't know how they tracked the MacGuffin. I don't know how they knew that it was gonna be around with her, and then we get her kind of fighting Taskmaster. And this is pretty much their point of like showing how much of a threat Taskmaster is in this movie, and it's pretty good. It's alright. But as we get in later on in the movie, the action scenes severely go down in quality and try and emulate the Bourne series kind of stuff. And the thing is, you don't want to kind of emulate that because it's usually got shaky cam and everything, and it's kind of hard to kind of tell what's going on. It's not horrendous and bad, but you have to be careful how you do it because you can get it more wrong than you can get right. Which is why whenever I'm like, hey, John Wick is a really great prime example of an action movie, I'm going to pop this motherfucker up and say this is a prime example of what not to fucking do in an action movie. Because of the plot and everything and the action going on. Sweet Jesus. So, Nat kind of gets her ass kicked, but she's able to take the MacGuffin and roll around into the river and gets away from Taskmaster. She then shows up in Budapest because she's like, somebody from my Budapest place sent me this. Her and Elena then get into their kind of kerfuffle that we've seen in the trailer because they don't know if they can trust each other. Thing is, we find throughout their conversation that Nat's way of getting out of, like getting into S.H.I.E.L.D. was to pretty much burn down the Red Room, and she thought it was gone, but Elena's like, yeah, no, it's not. It's still going on. I'm still alive? Did you see a body? Evidently not. Well, we get this whole kind of thing of pretty much trying to be like, oh, this is Widow's kind of big red ledger moment where the whole Budapest operation was that she pretty much dropped a building on the motherfucker while his daughter was in there because she had to make sure that he was in the building to take his ass out. I guess. I mean, she could have just went up to his ass and fucking figured it out. And she's been, like, carrying that around ever since, trying to get that right out of her ledger. And it's just like, alright, I bet you know where this is going. Oh, she's not dead. We'll find that out later on. God. It's so stupid. There's, like, so much that goes fucking wrong. Because you're like, okay, this is how she kind of got out of S.H.I.E.L.D. and, like, the whole Red Room project and, like, the Black Widow project. You'd think people would be like, that's kind of a bigger kind of thing, and that Captain America would be kind of, like, fucking around with that, being like, this ain't kind of good. Super spy, kidnapping little girls and shit. That ain't part of my bag, man. Now, granted, he does have fucking issues going on, but it's just like, you would think this thing being brought in would, bringing her in for the whole Red Room program being dismantled would be like, hey, can we check that shit? Oh, wait a minute. There's like fucking widows in broad fucking daylight that anybody could fucking see in the same kind of fucking outfit that she's fucking been wearing throughout the whole fucking MCU. Sorry, that takes a lot. So, it's like, alright, this is a whole thing. We essentially give her this whole thing that we're like, this is her red ledger kind of moment. And then they just fucking undo it. It's like, okay, I don't mind redemption and figuring out other things, but you're retconning something in the exact same fucking movie. Also, sidebar. This movie is filled with people trying to do Russian accents and fucking terribly failing at it. That was one of the key things. It could just fucking takes you out because you're like, your accent's modulating on a fucking gigantic basis. Yours is too. Whatever the fuck's going on. Well, they're pretty much trying to figure out what's going on, and then, of course, the widows come and take them, and try and take them out, and they have this giant kind of chase scene, of course, reminiscent of the Bourne series. They're doing their kind of thing. One of them kind of like comes after him, and they like Natasha tries to like save her ass, but she gets dumped down into the water. But then Natasha fucking thunder tumbles, hitting almost like every goddamn pinball machine thing, and walks out. Whereas this one fell into like a bit of water, and her legs fucking cranked out like another fucker. It's like, god damn it. So she's trying to get to her and be like, hold up, hold up, hold up. Dreykov's like, fuck you, kill yourself. And then, it's like, I don't want to do this. I was like, boom, alright, cool. You're setting some stakes and everything, but we'll have to kind of see. So, they then link back up together, and they're trying to get out and away from them, and then, of course, Terminator Taskmaster pops up in a fucking APC that is drawing no fucking law enforcement response whatsoever fucking ever. Never mind the fact that it would probably potentially be like, hey, Avengers, don't you want to deal with this kind of fucking weird-ass shit? Isn't this what the whole Sokovia Accords was for? Oh, shit, that was the previous movie that this thing's fucking following. I'm sorry, but this is stupid. If you enjoyed this movie, I'm not trying to take that from you, but this is like... The whole point of this kind of shared connected universe is the world building and making sure that if you put something in there and you make something a big deal, you follow through with that. If you find out that a character is allergic to peanuts and they fucking eat a peanut butter sandwich, they have problems. Now granted, that has to make a, like, that has to have some kind of use and everything going on for it. But this is just like, alright, whatever. So we get this pretty much extended chase sequence. And it's like, alright, cool. And listen, it's not being like jaded or like older or whatnot. It's just, it's an action scene that goes on so long that it's not like the longest fucking thing going on. But even though there's things happening, there's not a lot of things happening. Never mind the fact that it's hard to fucking hear what they're talking about as they're pretty much quipping their way through this. I'm like, you need to understand who your character is to understand how their quipping works. Spider-Man's quips do not work with Captain America. Alright? Cap's quips do not work for Tony Stark. Tony Stark's quips do not work with Thor. Thor's quips do not work with Black Widow. And just seeing him kind of doing this, it's like, sweet fucking fuck me. So, they're able to pretty much hide out where Natasha and Clint did after they pretty much did their thing to try and kill Dreykov and figure out that it actually didn't fucking mean a thing. And they're like, alright, we gotta find out where the Red Room is, so let's go break out Alexei, who's in prison for some reason. Evidently Dreykov was like a paranoid fuck and decided to put a super soldier that he could probably use in prison, I think. It's not very clear. So, Natasha pretty much gets her, contraband Uber dude to like get her a helicopter. She wanted a jet, and they're snowsuit kind of things because they're going to a prison that's in like snowy place, and they bug off. Then we see Alexei pretty much saying, "Oh, I fought Captain America like this, just and the other," and this one dude's like, "Captain America didn't get taken out of the ice until like much later. You bullshit," and then he breaks his arm like a dick, and he's just like, "I'm the Red Guardian." We also get, like, at one point where he's accidentally called the Crimson Dynamo. Crimson Dynamo is another Russian hero analog of Iron Man, but he's not in here that I've seen. He could be, but whatever. So he gets a package, and he pretty much gets an earpiece from Natasha, being like, "We're breaking you out." And then what happens is essentially... You've seen the trailer, right? This motherfucker probably could have broken out by himself. And without less trouble, because we just see this insane action scene going on as Natasha is actually kicking some ass. But then we get, like, Yelena, like, stupidly driving this helicopter. Not that the character is being stupid. It's like the plot's demanding, hey, this place is gonna like start shooting at you with a giant machine gun. I'm gonna use a giant bazooka to blow it up. Why do we need to use a giant bazooka? Because the plot demands that we have an avalanche come on for another kind of action Michael Bay fucking set piece. Oh, don't you think all of the kind of like weird and strange noises going on in this place would have set that off before? Now it'd have to be that fucking rocket blowing up that fucking tower. While Alexei is pretty much like, he kicked down a full fucking giant, like, the door looked intact, and then he fucking kicked it in like a goddamn motherfucker, and I'm like, and you didn't do this before, why? I don't know, if I'm a super soldier and you're in a place that essentially is holding regular fucking people, if I could, like, just kick down a door and be like, I'm not gonna be in here, fuck that shit, I'm gonna find a dude who's trying to put me in here, and kick his ass, because he's a dumb fuck, because he didn't put me in, like, some kind of Supermax place, because he's a fucking dumbass. Granted, that's putting me in the mindset of Alexei. Like, if you're Alexei's character, and you're like, bitch, I could fucking fold this shit like goddamn TP. And just like, wow. And it's like, it hurts. But we get our fucking avalanche scene. Natasha's able to bring him up, and we get him in the helicopter. He's like, oh, how are you guys doing? It's like, fuck you, man. He's like, oh, you're on the time. Then we get a fucking, pretty much like, oh, you gotta be on your time of the month. It's like, oh, they fucking took our uteruses out, asshole. And it just keeps going. Or it's like, yeah, they went in, they ripped out the uteruses, they took out the ovaries, oh, you don't want to hear any more? Good to get in the fallopian tubes. It's like, it's just like the South Park joke that has gone too far. It's like, what? And I'm just like, this is Black Widow's movie? This badass fucking character that kicked so much ass and has done so many awesome things and sacrifices himself in Endgame to bring her family back together. And this is where we're at. So they break him out because they think for some fucked up reason, even though he's been in this place for like fucking eons, he would know where the Red Room is. He's like, nah, but Melina will probably know. Why? Because she's in a pig farm or whatnot outside of St. Petersburg. How do you know this? I don't know, because evidently the plot demands that I know this shit because I'm a plot object who pretty much has no redeeming qualities other than like doing some superhero things and essentially being Fat Thor Part 2, the joke, where this it doesn't even have the character to latch onto it. It's like, that's it. The joke is, oh, he's fat. That's an observation. That's not a fucking joke. Oh my god, because it's just like, oh, I still have, because we get to her, she's evidently fucking controlling pigs with the goddamn shit, because that institute that they went to in 1995 had stuff to be like, oh, it's like targeted this thing so you could actually chemically control somebody with mind control. Like, then why the fuck isn't this dude doing it on a larger scale and couldn't have done this beforehand? God, this plot fucking annoys the shit out of me. Because she just shows like, hey, look, I can make this pig not breed. And it's like, you're a fucking dick. Stop this shit. Of course, Natasha's like, you people suck ass. And Yelena's like, I wanted this to be a family. It's like, yeah. Never mind the fact that I don't know why you do an undercover operation and put like fucking 2 young children on the detail. Oh, but that's probably because a married couple without children would look mighty suspicious. Yeah, and having 2 kids that would probably be really fucking unable to stick to some kind of script because they don't really know how to handle that kind of situation would fuck that up even more. So Yelena goes off to be kind of like, no. Granted, I don't hate her character for it, but the plot is demanding that her character act like that. We got her a little bit of a thing after the whole Budapest thing where her and Ned are like, let's take down the Red Room, and then boom, that's pretty much it. So Alexei tries to go off and talk to her. Fucking Natasha and Milena talk, and evidently the Red Room's alerted and going to be sending stuff in. But of course, we get an Ocean-style reveal that she was actually not being a dick, and she kind of likes them and wants them to be a family. Even though we never really see much of that in the 1995 bit, nor in the intervening bits where they, I don't know, don't even like know where each other is. Nat didn't know that she was, Elena was in the fucking Red Room thing still. She didn't know about Milena doing her stuff with her pigs, and that Alexei was in fucking prison, but whatever. Fucking dude's trying to be like a dad to Elena and fucking failing miserably, and then just starts singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie, because evidently that was Elena's favorite song, even though in the 1995 bit, we didn't understand why she fucking had it, because it's just presented to be a callback for this plot demands moment. Without context, things mean nothing. If I just started singing Purple Rain, right now in the middle of my review without explaining why it has any significance and then singing it at the end, it doesn't mean anything. Holy shit. Fuck. Oh. You set a standard and you didn't fucking hit it. So, they get captured, and surprise, surprise, the Red Room is a floating fortress. With how many people in the world, in the universe of the MCU, and not a one of a motherfucker accidentally fucking hit this or found this? I don't know. I would have taken Volcano Layer for 100, Alex. Yeah? Dr. Evil, that shit. Underwater one, I'd take that. Not the fucking Flying Fortress. So, then we get through and we find out that everybody's got their thing. They're gonna take Yelena's brain because the MacGuffin was onto her, so they're gonna, like, go into her brain and fucking find out why the MacGuffin worked, because we don't even know why the MacGuffin worked. It just set off the plot because it's a MacGuffin. Milena's taken into Dreykov and is pretty much expounding upon his plans and shit like that. Alexei's trying to do his speech again to Nat, but we find out that Milena and Nat switched places because she wanted to actually get to Dreykov and understand what was kind of going on with that shit. Taskmaster's also there. We get the reveal that Taskmaster is actually Dreykov's daughter, and that, even though he's like, you blew her fucking face off, I'm like, yeah, she looks a little fucked up, but, like, not, like, badly. And that they put a chip in her, and that somehow helped her get to mimicry for the Taskmaster thing. See, in the comic books, Taskmaster took a super soldier serum that allowed him to be able to copy these things. Interesting, different kind of effect of a super soldier serum, and would have introduced probably different kind of ways for that kind of shit, but whatever. Now, do I mind that they changed Taskmaster from a he to a she? Not necessarily. No, you could still do a lot of interesting things if you got the right actor or actress to do this kind of thing. I don't have a problem with that. Here, there's no character there. She's the Terminator kind of effect, even until the end. It's like, it's like, okay, whatever. So he's glowing. He's like, yeah, I control things from the shadows. Yeah, yeah. Alright, that's it? That's your whole fucking thing? It's like, oh, I'm using the world's most abundant natural resource. Girls! I'm like, did you really just fucking say that? Fucking mustache twirling motherfucking asshole? Okay. God damn it. And evidently his ring's able to open up the fucking thing to show all this shit going. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can set wars. I can stake the stock market to crash. Blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, great. You just looked up like 11 different buzzwords and just fucking ran with it for a dialogue, didn't you? Ha, 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 ha. Oh, it fucking hurts. I don't like this, okay? I just hope that they learn from this. Ugh. So, we also see that Nat can't hurt him because pheromones? Like, they don't even get that even to explain, and that her way to get around it, because he's like, yeah, I could fucking take you out, and he's just like beating her ass, and it's like she's got to break a nerve in her nose. I'm like, I don't know if that's how that works. But fine, whatever. So she thunders her face into the damn thing and starts going after his ass. But of course, everything's going on. Elena's able to escape from her thing. Elena's trying to like take out one of the engines, but of course she got screwed over by Dreykov. Taskmaster's pretty much being sent off, and then since everything starts going to shit, Dreykov, the Black Widow's trying to go after, and we get this fight scene with fucking fighting them as she's trying to like not kill them because they're of course under everything going on. But Yelena's able to pop in with like a grenade attached with the MacGuffin, gets everybody. They're like, yeah, you're all good. Let's go. Nat, of course, fucking is able to copy over the data in the most ham-fisted plot demands explosion thing going on because Milena just tried to be like, I can't like turn this off with the computer, so I'm just going to blow it up. Alexei had kind of a stupid ass fight with him and Taskmaster. It's like, all right, whatever. And it's just the fight scenes in here just So everything's going to shit. Everything's falling out. The widows are able to kind of like get their way out. Elena pretty much is like, all right, see you, Nat, and pretty much plaques Dreykov's kind of like thing going on. He at this point blows up and gets off, and Nat is able to let Taskmaster out because Alexei was able to kind of like, Alexei teamed up and they were able to like put her in one of the cells that they were in, and Nat's like, well, I kind of dropped a building on your ass, and I kind of want to save you from this, so let her out. She's still trying to go after her because of like her programming, and then what occurs next is the most Fast and the Furious bullshit / Saints Row shit I've ever seen. It would work in Saints Row. It does not work here. And they actually start fighting. I'm like, in midair with everything going on and crashing. Like, Nat's able to get to Yelena, gives her like a parachute and shit, and then she starts fighting fucking Taskmaster a little bit in midair, and I'm just like, whatever. Fucking do it. Ride that goddamn bomb into the ground, man. Just whatever you doing, man. Just fucking finish it. End my ass. They're able to get down on the ground. Nat has one last thing of the MacGuffin, plops her, and we're good. She's like, is she dead? Yeah. And the thing is, she pretty much used Ross's tracker on her to pretty much have him come. Why? Fuck if I know, because the plot demands it for some stupid ass reason. So the widows pop down, they get Yelena, Milena, and Alexei, and Nat just stays behind, and somehow it goes 2 weeks later. She somehow escapes. She's got blonde hair. Uber contraband man is able to get her a Quinjet, and she flies off to do the raft thing to get friends out. That's the main story done. Then it's stupid. We then jump at the end credit scene to the end of Endgame. We see that Natasha did get a grave, and that it does have a bender on it. I'm like, alright. And Elena's visiting the grave, so alright, how long have you guys kept in touch? Evidently not long, because the vow that we saw in Winter Soldier is up, and evidently she's working with Yelena, which seems kind of weird because it's like, that's kind of like Hydra shit, kind of the shit you were in. And she's like, oh yeah, I just think you'd want to like go after the dude that killed your sister, Clint Barton. It's like, how would you even sell that? Because I would think that Nat would be like telling her about like how her and Clint were okay, and that there would be more information available. I mean, she just shows a picture of Clint, not some doctored video of like Clint killing Nat or anything like that. Or it's just like, oh yeah, this dude killed your sister. So this just gives more credence to the whole thing of like Val is essentially doing up the Dark Avengers because Yelena, Black Widow won. Hey, John Walker, U.S. agent. So I'm just waiting for like their Iron Man, their Thor and shit. Because if this is going that route, we'll probably maybe get like Sylvie as their Thor slash Loki kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know. Which doesn't make much sense because Sylvie's actually okay in the Loki one. I don't know. But it's just like, oh yeah, so that's leading into the Hawkeye series where Yelena is going to be going after Clint, which makes no goddamn sense at all. And I'm just like, what are you people fucking doing? Alright? Now, I did not go into this movie wanting to dislike it this much. I don't hate it, but it is definitely a bad movie and a bad MCU movie, and I will not let that stand. There are standards, and I'm like, come on, this character deserved better. Alright? I don't give a shit. Like, it deserved better. She deserved better than this. Alright? Action wise, story wise, character wise, and the fans deserve better than this. This was a giant misstep. Alright? And it's mainly because of what it is and where it's at in the whole thing of the MCU. And it makes me more apprehensive for a movie like The Eternals. Because this just like threw everything at all these kind of things like, oh, we want to put this, and this, and you don't logically like connect it and figure out what the ramifications are. Like, oh, I don't know, having a fucking Russian super soldier. Especially with like the Eternals coming in. It's like, okay, you have to come up with some pretty big fucking interesting reasons for why they didn't fucking come up into effect with like Thanos and all these other things going on. It can be done, but this is like a very bad execution for a lot of things. I'm like, ugh. And I'm not against female superheroes getting movies or anything like that. I want them to be good. Alright? Natasha is a great superhero character, and she deserved a great superhero movie, and this ain't it. Because we've seen what they've been able to do with her in, like, fucking Avengers, Winter Soldier, most of her MCU stuff, and I'm just like, this is what you do for her? This is what we get? Like, we waited this long, and you put her, like, in between Civil War and Infinity War, and then we waited even longer because of course, everything going on in the world. And I don't know how much that impacted this during its making. But holy fuckballs, Batman. What the shit? Like, I've seen MCU movies that I have not been thrilled with. This is the first one that I was watching it and being like, this is not good. And I can just like point to everything going wrong with this, and I'm like, all of this deserves better. We all here deserve better. Now, if you enjoyed it, I don't want to take that away from you, okay? You can like this movie, and I will not hate you for that. I will not dislike you for that. I'll just be like, good, I'm glad you liked it, and I'm glad you had fun, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. I never, in any way, want to take that away from somebody. But there are structural problems in this movie that should not be repeated and are grossly against the standards of what we have had done and set within the MCU. Even on basic pacing and editing levels of what is going on. God, I just... And that ending, I just... so many MacGuffins. The action was just standard and hard to follow in a lot of places, and just like, alright. The plot was at times convoluted because they wanted to try and make it complex, and yet too simple and just trying to fight each other. It's like, alright, the Red Room is still active. Okay, they should have just like hammered in on that instead of just trying to like fucking do so many like, oh, twists and turns. It's just like, well, this worked so much better in other kind of movies, and this just very disappointed, and I hope that this could just be like a one-off kind of thing. Alright? Now, does that mean I'm gonna be like, oh, this one heralds the end and the doom of the MCU? No, I'm not gonna be that kind of a dude. Alright? I'm not gonna be that dick. I will only be like, I will be apprehensive on certain things, or, depending upon what I've seen, I might be excited for certain things. But I will see it and then judge it on its merits there. And see how that goes within the framework that we have seen, that we are going to continue to see, the whole pattern, and see how that goes. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.